Trump's bold plan to abolish the Department of Education. Former President Donald Trump has repeatedly expressed his desire to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education, calling it an example of federal overreach into the lives of American families. At a rally in Wisconsin, he shared his stance, saying, "We will ultimately eliminate the Federal Department of Education," and criticized the way taxpayer dollars are used in the education system, alleging that they are being used to indoctrinate children. The Department of Education was established in 1979 by President Jimmy Carter, who signed legislation making it a cabinet-level agency. Prior to its creation, education-related programs were managed by other federal agencies. While Trump has not outlined specific plans for how he would eliminate the department or what would happen to federally funded education programs, it would require an act of Congress to make such a change. The Department of Education's role primarily involves distributing federal funding to schools and overseeing various education programs. One of its key functions is administering financial aid to K-12 schools through programs like Title I, which helps children from low-income families, and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act IDEA, which supports schools in catering to students with disabilities. These programs, which total around $28 billion annually, are part of the department's mission to ensure equal educational opportunities for all students. However, federal funding typically makes up only about 10% of school budgets, with state and local taxes covering the rest. Over the last few years, additional federal funding was provided to schools to help recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. The department also manages approximately $30 billion in Pell Grants for low-income college students and oversees a $1.6 trillion student loan portfolio. In addition to its funding responsibilities, the Department of Education engages in oversight through its Office for Civil Rights, which investigates discrimination claims in educational institutions and is involved in creating federal regulations that impact schools across the country. However, the federal government's authority over education is limited by the powers retained by states and local school boards. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Department of Education could not mandate whether schools should open or close. Despite threats from Trump to withhold funding from schools that did not reopen, the executive branch could not unilaterally cut funding to schools that chose to remain closed. Trump and others who advocate for abolishing the Department of Education suggest that the federal funds could be redirected through a block grant system, which would come with fewer bureaucratic requirements. However, even with the department's elimination, it's unlikely that federal funding for education would cease entirely, as some programs like Title I have garnered bipartisan support. There's a long history of Congress resisting proposals to cut funding for education, with lawmakers often approving more funding than president's request. With the GOP aiming for unified control of Washington, there remains uncertainty about whether there will be enough support in Congress to fully eliminate the department, even if Republicans gain control of the House in the coming year.